Hi, my name is Amir Hafiz bin Zulkifli, and for my PPD 1032 speaking assignment, I will be talking on controversial topics. Alright, so when we talk about controversial topics, normally there are two sides in the dialogue, and it would normally touch sensitive aspects and topics. So, this is a disclaimer. So, I have chosen to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and what it affects, especially in America. Alright, so basically, the Black Lives Matter movement is a movement that advocates, that fights for the black people in America and possibly around the world, because it stemmed from the killing of George Floyd, a man who was killed in Minnesota by a police officer who happened to be white, and he was being watched by two other police officers, if I'm not mistaken. And from that, it stemmed, and it actually brought up the issue of police brutality being so apparent in America, and also of the systemic racism that has always been in America. So that is generally about what the Black Lives Matter is about. So I'll be giving opinions from two sides, which is the ones who support the Black Lives Matter movement, and also from the other side, which is those who support the law enforcers or the police force, basically. So basically, from all this, based on Twitter, if you go on Twitter, you would see people use this commentaries, which is all cops are bad. Alright, so people who side with the police officers would say that no, it is impossible for us to generally for people to just round them up and say that all cops are bad. But from my opinion, I believe that it is almost similar to the phrase of men are trash used by feminists. So it doesn't refer to all men being trash, it refers to a specific group of men that commit crimes against women, such as rape and sexual harassment and so on women. So all cops are bad doesn't really necessarily mean that literally mean that all cops are bad. Yes, there are certainly good cops out there, but it has become an issue when it is really hard to tell whether a cop is good or bad because of how apparent police brutality is in America. So it also the Black Lives Matter movement is also about how people should fight for black people just so that they could be equal with others. This is due to racism. So, for example, it is a common problem when a cop pulls over a person of color or POC on the road, for example, and in our time today, that specific person, that POC, would feel endangered because he knows that there are so many cases of people of color being killed due to pullovers from the cops. And normally, people who do this are white cops, which is why people think that it is considered a part of systemic racism. Normally, cops would say that, people who side with the law enforcers would say that, oh, but black people commit most crimes, which is unfair to say, to be honest, because you can't really generalize everybody or all black people as murderers or robbers or people who commit crimes. Because if you think about it, people who have committed terrorist attacks, such as all the school shootings, are actually white. But people don't generalize white people as school shooters, do they? So it is considered an invalid argument. And even in America, you can see white people carrying around assault rifles and they're not even being punished for it, though they have rights for guns, but it is considered not dangerous by the police officers when the white people do it. But if you use the same context but with black people, it would suddenly be considered dangerous. So that is an example of racism. So, and from all this also rises up an issue where people have used an argument that all lives matter. Okay, so it is a common misconception or misunderstanding about this phrase, all lives matter and Black Lives Matter. Indeed, all lives do matter. Yes, it is logical to say that everybody's lives matters. Yes, they do. It is true, but you have to bear in mind that the Black Lives Matter is a movement, a specific movement to fight for black people, because it has come to a point that they are treated so unfairly and they are being killed for no apparent reason that we have to fight for them just so that they can be treated equally and fairly by everybody. So yes, all lives matter, but you have to bear in mind that you cannot subvert the phrase of Black Lives Matter. It is very unfair for us to do that. So it's a very, in a way, it's a very immature way of arguing the legitimacy of Black Lives Matter. So to recap, the Black Lives Matter is an interesting one because it really highlights a lot of problems about America, about the issues in America, such as police brutality, systemic racism. It is so apparent, but nobody has ever addressed it. So now the Black Lives Matter movement is an important movement that we should support, because we have to support the black people because they are endangered for no apparent reason, and we as a human race, part of the human race, despite your religion, your culture, your race, we should always support and support all these people. So that is all from me. I hope that this issue will end one day and that everybody can live peacefully one day together. Thank you.